What is up, YouTube? This is Cody on the Real Sports Talk, bringing you the post-race / pre-race video to Kansas, post-race to Texas. And what kind of happened with that was I was super busy Sunday night. Then on Monday I was busy, and on Tuesday it was just at the point where I was gonna be late on that video anyway, and also I am going to the race, so we'll see that at Kansas this weekend, and that's why this video is coming a little early. Usually I do the pre-race after truck race video, but the post-race combined with the pre-race for this week is kind of making this video a little off schedule, but that's okay. So just a quick recap of Kansas. Greg Biffle wins, silences some of the critics that were on him and were saying he wasn't deserving of the points lead. He said great finishes so far this season, and he finally gets that win and solidifies his position as a points leader at this point, and probably best driver, best season so far. And Jimmy Johnson still hasn't gotten his win this season, but he's been running well. And Mark the Kid Martin comes home in third for Michael Waltrip Racing. That program just continues to flourish. And Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane, 200 drivers that have been having issues to this point this season, both finished in the top 10, 4th and 7th, I believe. And they both jumped 4 points positions in the point standings after that race. Tony Stewart is down 4 points positions after that race as Biffle maintains his lead. And Stewart finished terrible day, 24th position, not what he was looking for. He was thought to be a contender, along with Gordon coming up from the back of the pack. And throughout the race, there were only 2 cautions, which is kind of ridiculous for that track, I guess. And it ended with a 234-lap run to the finish. And Tony Stewart, I think it was 2005, 2006, something like that, set the record pace of 153 miles an hour for the entire race. That was the average speed. And in this race, we had 160 miles an hour. So that's a 7-mile-an-hour difference in average speed. And that's just ridiculous by NASCAR standards and average race times. Only having 2 cautions in a race is testament to the skill of the drivers that are in the sport today and the equipment that they're using. It's good stuff. Not necessarily the racing people want to see, but other people enjoy it, like myself. They like seeing those long runs and seeing the drivers having to do stuff to get their cars in position to win. I don't know, a guy like Jeff Gordon could have won if there were 5 or 6 cautions in this race. He was just gradually working his way up throughout the race. And so, like I said, Greg Biffle holds his position in the points lead. And I guess I'm going to move on to the trucks now, Rockingham, because that's a pretty historic event, I guess, in Rockingham's track history. It's been 5 or 6 years, I believe. Maybe, I'm trying to think when maybe it was 2004, the last race at Rockingham for NASCAR. But the trucks returned to Rockingham, and it provided some great racing. It was a great show. A lot of fans showed up. And what was really great about this race is it brought back that old aspect of tire wear. Because after you ran so many laps, your lap times would drop 3 or 4 seconds off the times you were running earlier in the race. And that's good racing right there. And that's why strategy comes into play, and that's why that's so important at that race. And I honestly want to see more races like that. Nowadays at these tracks, you only see like less than half a second drop-offs in times when the tires wear, and that's just something that's not going to add up as far as strategy goes, and it just kind of makes it a no-brainer where tires aren't really necessary. And I prefer racing where tires are an aspect where it can give you a huge advantage if people don't have tires in front of you, because those lapped cars then come into play with the leaders. If they have tires, they'll be going faster than the leaders, and that just provides good racing all around and a pretty good show for the fans, especially if there's not a lot of cautions. Nelson Piquet Jr. dominated a lot of the race after taking the pole, and he, like I said, just dominated. It was a pretty good race for him, and he had a miscue in the pits and was forced to the end of the line. Excuse me. And he actually raced his way back up, I believe, to top 6. I think he finished in 6th position, And Casey Kane ended up winning the race. He seems to win all the time when he jumps in a truck. And John King, who was our points leader, won at Daytona, had a decent finish on the race before this one. He crashed early in the race. He was the first caution, and he lost the points lead to Timothy Peters, who is now points leader. This is a season we're seeing a parity in drivers, big drivers in the truck series like Ron Hornaday, Todd Bodine, Johnny Sauter. Hornaday's in ninth, and he's the highest up of those guys, and that's something I wasn't expecting coming into the season, but I guess I kind of overlooked the fact that they're racing a lot of them for new teams struggling to find sponsors, and teams that just aren't accustomed to running with them, the teams that they weren't necessarily successful with in their time, that they've had success in the truck series. But I expect them. They've had some unlucky races. There's only been 3 races, and there's a bunch of guys that are still in contention for this championship. Don't write anyone off yet. Just keep watching, and the trucks always provide a good show. They'll be racing at Kansas this week as well. So, on to Kansas now. We got the Truck Series race tomorrow. I'm not really going to do too much to preview that because qualifying hasn't really happened, and I'm sure you guys aren't really interested in a Truck Series preview. I haven't really done one before. Obviously, look out for contenders that you normally expect to win. Ron Hornaday, I expect to be a factor. Johnny Sauter, I expect to be a factor. And some of the guys like that. But I know I just said it's a season of parity, so but I expect one of those guys to reclaim it this week. Johnny Sauter's been running well. He's just had miscues, and he said his truck was horrible last week, and he ended up running in the top 5 a lot of the time. He's a guy that is a pretty good driver, and I said he was a guy to look out for to win the championship this year. So on to Kansas now. It's Sprint Cup Series cars. Nationwide Series is taking a week off here. I would expect guys like Carl Edwards and Dale Jr. They both ran pretty well in practice. Qualifying actually happens tomorrow for the Sprint Cup cars too. So not going to really know the grid positions until tomorrow. But also Kansas drivers, including Carl Edwards and Clint Boyer, they're going to be fighting for that win on their home turf, and I'd expect them two guys to run well. And overall, I'd say my winner for this week is going to be Carl Edwards, just because I think he's been running well in practice, and I think he's going to break out of the shell. Another guy to look out for, though, Jimmy Johnson, a guy that has been running well, and he could sneak in and get Hendrick his 200th victory this week. And it's been looming the last couple weeks. It seems like he was going to win at Martinsville. And then last week at Texas, Jimmy Johnson looked like he was going to take it. Or if there was a caution toward the end, it looked like Jeff Gordon might have been able to take it. But definitely this week is going to be another good chance for Rick Hendrick to get that 200th win. The drivers he has in there, seems like every week's a good chance for him to get his 200th win. But hopefully Rick Hendrick can do that, and it almost seems like it's being drawn out a lot, and it's, I don't know, necessarily taking a burden on the drivers. But anyway, I'll try to get some video or pictures or some sort of media at the track, as I'm going to be there. And maybe I can share some of that with you guys when I get back. But I'm not that great of a photographer, so we'll see how that goes. And we'll see you guys after the races. Peace.